Cold wind scraped across the open plains the night everything changed, carrying with it the kind of danger that makes a person run without thinking, run until their lungs burn, until their legs give way, until all that matters is escape. That was the night she found the barn. And the night he found her. What neither of them knew was that this single moment, this desperate hiding place, would bind two lonely souls together in a way that would test their courage, break their hearts, and ultimately save them both. She didn't plan to trust him, that he didn't plan to claim her as anything, but fate, wild and stubborn like a Mustang, rarely asks permission. Chapter 1. Rain hammered across the open fields as Nora sprinted through the shadows, clutching the strap of her worn backpack as if it were the last piece of her old life she could still hold on to. Mud splashed up her legs, her breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Behind her, she could still hear the faint echo of shouting, men calling her name like they owned it, like they owned her. She ran harder. The first light she saw was a lantern flickering inside a tall old barn at the edge of a lonely ranch. Its silhouette loomed like a fortress against the storm, the only place for miles where she could hide. Without hesitation, she slipped through the loose wooden door and ducked behind a stack of hay bales. Her entire body trembled. She was soaked, freezing, and terrified, but safe, for the moment. Then she heard boots, heavy, slow, dragging boots, the kind that belonged to someone big. A shadow filled the doorway as the lantern swung in a large hand. In stepped the man locals called the giant Cowboy. Levi Monroe, 6'6", broad as a barn beam, with a silence so thick it intimidated half the county. That he didn't scare Nora the way those men did. But he didn't look like someone who welcomed surprises, either. Levi set the lantern down and exhaled, long and tired, as if he carried years of loneliness around like weight in his shoulders. His eyes scanned the barn, sharp and unhurried. Nora pressed herself tighter behind the hay, praying he wouldn't notice the small trail of muddy footprints leading straight to her hiding spot, but Levi walked slowly toward them, stopping just inches away. "I know you're there," he said quietly, voice deep and gentle like gravel rolling in warm water. "Come on out. You're shaking the hay." Nora froze. Running again would be pointless. So she stood, trembling, soaking wet, eyes flashing with fear as she lifted her hands. "Please," she whispered. "Just, don't send me back." Levi looked at her for a long moment, taking in her bruised cheek, her torn jacket, her desperate eyes. Something softened in his expression, something old, maybe forgotten. "Who's after you?" he asked, but before she could answer, headlights swept across the fields outside. A truck. Then another. Nora's heart lurched. "They're here," she gasped. Levi stiffened, jaw tightening. "Those men?" She nodded, barely breathing. Voices shouted from outside, angry and clear. Levi looked at the barn door, then back at Nora, small, terrified, soaked, clutching her backpack like a lifeline. Then, without warning, he reached out and took her wrist, not rough, but firm. "Look at me." She did. "If they ask," he said, lowering his voice, "you're my wife now." Her breath caught. "What?" "No time." He grabbed an old coat hanging on a nail, draped it over her shoulders, and pulled her forward just as fists pounded on the barn door. Levi opened it. 3 men stood outside, rain dripping off their hats, faces twisted in anger. "You seen a girl round here?" one demanded. Levi's body shifted forward, broad enough to fill the doorway. "My wife's the only woman on this ranch," he said calmly, pulling Nora slightly behind him. "And she's sleeping." The men tried to look past him, but Levi didn't budge. "Storm's bad. Roads are worse. You boys best turn around before your truck gets stuck," he drawled. For a moment, no one breathed. Finally, the men muttered something under their breath and turned away, disappearing into the darkness. When their engine finally faded, Levi shut the door and let out a breath. Nora let her knees buckle. "You shouldn't have lied for me," she whispered. "You looked like someone who needed a lie," Levi replied, and for the first time in years, something warm stirred inside him, something he'd long ago convinced himself he didn't need, a reason not to be alone. Chapter 2. The storm had passed by sunrise, but the tension hadn't. Nora woke on a cot Levi had set up in the corner of the barn. Her drenched clothes were drying near the lantern. It was the first safe night she'd slept in months, but her nightmares had followed her anyway. She blinked, pushing her hair back, and found Levi sitting on an overturned bucket a few feet away. He held a steaming mug in his large hands. "You kick in your sleep," he grumbled, then offered her the mug. "Figured you might want something warm." She accepted it cautiously. "You didn't have to stay." He shrugged. "Didn't want you waking up alone and scared." "I'm not scared," she said too fast that he gave her a look. Not accusing. Not pitying. Just, seeing her, she sighed. "Okay. Maybe a little." "Lot of people are," he said. "Doesn't make you weak." Nobody had ever said that to her before. She hesitated. The weight of the past night pressed on her chest. "Why did you protect me? You don't even know who I am." Levi leaned back, considering his answer. "You looked like someone running from something real bad," he said. "And I've been someone who needed a place to hide before." For a moment, the barn felt smaller, not in a heavy way, but in a shared warmth kind of way. "I should explain," Nora said softly. "The men last night, they're not just looking for me. They're my—" She stopped, throat tightening. Levi waited. "No pressure. No hurry. My mother remarried," she finally said. "He and his sons, they weren't kind. I tried to leave and they decided I didn't get to." The sadness that flickered in Levi's eyes was sharp, but controlled. "They won't hurt you here," he said simply. "But I can't stay," she whispered. "I don't want to drag my trouble into your life." "You didn't drag anything," Levi said. "Trouble found you. Makes a difference." As the day passed, Nora helped him feed the horses. She watched him work, silent, strong, gentle in ways that contradicted his size. The horses trusted him instantly. She found herself leaning into that calm, into the steadiness he carried like a second skin. By evening, they shared dinner at the small table in his house. "It felt strange, domestic, almost peaceful." "About what you said last night," Nora murmured, setting down her fork. "The wife thing. You didn't have to." "I know," Levi said. "But it got them off your trail." She swallowed. "Thank you." He nodded once, but late that night, as she stood on the porch staring at the stars, Levi joined her. "You know," he said quietly, "you don't have to keep running alone." Her voice trembled. "I don't know how to stop." He looked at her, really looked, with a depth that made her chest ache. "Then stay here," he said gently. "Just until you're ready to stand on your feet again." Nora turned away, tears burning her eyes. "Why?" she whispered. Levi's answer came soft, honest, aching, "Because nobody should have to face the world alone. Not even a giant cowboy like me." For the first time since she'd run, hope flickered, small, fragile, but alive. And maybe, just maybe, finding that lonely barn wasn't an accident at all. It was the beginning of two broken people discovering that sometimes the most unlikely place becomes home.